It's been a little while since I did one of these, but I've got a viewer request video to do on my Radiomaster TX16S. A viewer wanted to know how to use one of these sliders as the throttle trim. Not really sure why, but I'm always up for a challenge to figure out if I can solve a problem for somebody, whatever their reasons are. I'll go over a couple of the potential issues I see with it as I demonstrate how one method to do it. As with anything with EdgeTX, there's usually several ways to do almost anything. But let me demonstrate first. So the person doesn't want to use the regular throttle trim, but you can't assign anything other than trim switches to be trim for any of the sticks. So first thing I did is check and see how far the throttle trim will actually move the throttle if I go full swing on it. So let me go full.
Maximum trim reached.
So there's the maximum trim, and as you can see there on my throttle channel, it went to 75%. So that means the throttle will do it plus or minus 25%. So I'm going to use that number as my baseline to set up this slider mix for using it for trim. Let me center the trim again.
Trim center.
So now trim centered up again. So I've got this set up to use my left slider here. If I push the left slider up, you can see it moved my throttle up to minus 75. So it did the same thing as the here I'm moving my left slider, and you can see that over here on the side. That represents my left slider. So as I move my left slider, you can see that moving. But so right now I've got it doing the equivalent of the trim switch. So if I push it forward, it trims up. If I pull it backwards, you won't see anything on this screen, but when I go backwards, it will do that negative. Let me go into the actual channel monitor, and then you can see that a little more accurately. Go to the mixes and hit your model button. You can show the stick raw input as well as the output. So over here's my channel 3 is my throttle, and if I move the left slider backwards, so I just move this back all the way down, and you can see my actual raw value is minus 125. But basically what you can see, I'm just trying to represent here that your left slider can do the same thing as the stick. So let me center that back. Okay, so the actual trim is zeroed and my slider is trimmed to the center. Let me back out of this. So let me show you how I accomplish this. So first thing you need to do is decide if you want the actual trim to still do throttle trim or not. If you want to completely disable that from that, a couple of ways to do it, but I would just probably go to the throttle input here. So I'll go down to the throttle input, go in there and edit that. Scroll down to the little settings, and then just change this trim to off if you truly want to disable the regular trim switch from the throttle. For this example, I'm just going to leave it on. Doesn't really affect the way I'm going to use the slider, so they both can actually still be active. Okay, so really all you got to do this, go to your, I'm basically creating a mix using the left slider or right slider, whatever the case may be, as a mix. So let me scroll down. So under my channel 3 mix, you can see I've got a mix with the left slider in that. Let me demonstrate what it is or what it looks like here. So I've just and you can give it a name if you want, but I just have the source as left slider under the channel 3 mix, and I put a weight of 25%. Now if that's either too sensitive or not sensitive enough, you can change that weight. So for example, let me push my left slider all the way forward, and you can see it move that up to 75%. If I change the weight of that to 10%, then I only get 10% swing either direction as I move that. You can see I'm moving the slider now. And where that might come in handy is, let me show you something. One of the probably the main drawback to this is if you were trying to just move it a little bit, if you barely move it, because these sliders have a center detent, if you just move it a little bit, see if you can see this here. If I just try to move it just a little bit, say I get it up to 94% and I let go of the slider, it pops back to center. So you can only, you got to move it at least probably 4 or 5, 6, maybe 6 or 7% before it'll hold that position. Now, if you just need a very small amount, if I change this to say 10, I got to move it a lot further before I hit that number. You'll have more precision if you put a lower number there, so I got to move the slider farther to get a less amount. Anyway, you'll have to play with that to see how that will work with your particular application, you know, whatever you want to use this for. So adjust the weight for that. But let me just show you how I created that. So let me delete this one. I'm just going to delete it. Okay, so scroll down on your mixes, not the inputs. Go to your mixes, go down to channel 3. Click on the button, and then just do insert after. Okay, now I've created this. Give it a name if you want. Go down to the source, click it, and I'm just going to move my left slider here. As soon as I move it, it automatically selects the left slider, and then lower the weight to whatever you want. You know, 25% is equivalent to the normal trim switch, so that might be a starting point. If you need a little more detailed control, you might lower it to something else, but you know, that's something you can play with. That's all you got to do. So if I set that back to 25, now I move my slider, you can see it adjusting that value by 25%. So anyway, there's a solution for you. Hopefully that's helpful. The only drawback to that I think I can see, you know, is you might, well, 2 drawbacks. Number 1, that little center detent kind of makes it hard to get precision control right around. You know, if you only need a couple of clicks to trim, you're going to have a hard time doing it with the slider. And then the other thing is, of course, you know, if you get this trimmed out, you bump that slider, it's easy to hit. It's not easy to hit these trim switches. So if you bump that, you know, putting your radio away or something or getting it out, you're going to throw off your trim. So anyway, things to consider, but hopefully that's a reasonable solution for your problem. Any comments, put them below, and thanks for watching.